I'm Phil LeBeau with more details about why shares of Boeing are down more than 3% following a letter that was sent by the head of the FAA to the CEO of Boeing. This is a copy of the letter. I'm not going to get too detailed in it, but it basically says Steve Dickson wants Dennis Muhlenberg to explain a document that Boeing turned over to the Department of Transportation yesterday. The document, according to Dickson, is troubling, and they want an immediate answer to the content of this document and why it's just now being turned over to regulators and investigators. That document basically shows instant messages between Boeing engineers discussing the certification process for the 737 MAX back in 2016. According to the FAA letter, they're concerned about the messages there. We haven't gotten a copy of those messages yet. We're in the process of getting those. So, guys, Boeing has two problems here. One, they may have known about this for several months and are just now turning these documents over to the FAA and to the Department of Transportation. And two, those messages themselves. What were the Boeing employees discussing about the 737 MAX certification process? According to Reuters, some of those messages suggest that they talked about misleading the FAA. One other note, guys, we have reached out to Boeing. We expect to hear from them shortly regarding these documents or this document that has now been turned over to the DOT as well as the FAA.
Phil, let me just come back to you for a second. I'm not sure how much of the conversation you heard after your prior hit with us. Jim Lebenthal suggested if all of these reports are true, that Dennis Muhlenberg couldn't survive something like that as the CEO. You just want to talk to us around that?
Well, I think that these are the types of damning documents. And it's not just the documents, Scott, that would make people say, can Boeing go on with Dennis Muhlenberg in charge of the company, or do they need to change him, take him out of that job, or do they need to remove Kevin McAllister, the head of Boeing Commercial Airplanes, from his job? It's not just the document. It's the fact that they've known about it for, a couple of months? We don't know the exact time frame, but if that's the case, if that is true, that they knew about this and are just now turning it over to investigators, I mean, that's one of those kind of, if you're on the board, you have to ask yourself, who's making the decisions here about what we turn over and how forthright we're being? So I think Jim's comments, he's not going to be the only person asking whether or not Dennis Muhlenberg's future is long at Boeing.
Let's all remember, I mean, what are we talking, only a week ago at the most, where they split the role of chairman and CEO?
Right.
It's not like they haven't discussed these sorts of, or even taken action on issues around Mr. Muhlenberg's title leading up to all this.
You're absolutely right. You're absolutely right. It's clear that the board realizes it needs to be more actively involved, not only in what happens next for Boeing, but in determining how it's going to set a new culture at this company. I mean, this document, if it's true, it gets right to the heart of the concern that we've heard time and again from people when they talk about Boeing, which is, what do they know? Why are they not telling us more? And what's going on when it comes to certification of airplanes?